This podcast is about real estate with intelligence. It is pulling the sword from the stone. This podcast is about that unique balance in real estate, that balance between technological intelligence and our emotional intelligence and the transactions and interactions with one another in the real estate process. That's why we're inviting expert guests, people who are knowledgeable and bring different perspective. Join me in exploring this fascination, the look behind the scenes of technological advancement and how it's interacting with people's decisions in real estate. Alex Susi, welcome to Real Estate with Intelligence podcast. So excited to have you here.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about the energy you're bringing here with us today on the show and how it relates to your superpower in the real estate industry.
So the energy I'm bringing here, I typically am the loudest, most smiley person in a room. So I would say that that's my general energy on any given day. So I'm hoping to bring that to the podcast today.
So what if we had an artificial intelligence robot? Would you be more smiley and happy and louder than that?
I would say, yeah. I mean, I'm a human being. I don't think that you can replicate any sort of happiness and positivity that is genuine. It's coming from a person. A robot is like, ain't no thing compared to me.
So it's interesting, right? To think of a machine as how can a machine emote, or how can a machine draw emotion from the person it's interacting with. And yet, before we started the podcast today, we were having a quick conversation and you were talking about how you're so intentional in some of the things that you own and things that you buy and the stories you attach and how certain things have certain emotional power with you, whether they affect you or you affect them. How come the same thing is not true with machines?
Wow. I mean, a person has a heart and a mind, and they come together to create this beautiful symbiotic relationship that makes a personality, you know? A machine just doesn't have that. It's a robot. I just keep thinking of like Terminator, where in the movie it's scary to me, robots where they're so inhuman and nothing is ever going to be able to replicate human emotion in any way. There's all of these bots and AI and everything that some things just can't be replicated.
Tell everybody a little bit more about like, what is it that you do, and not just the job description, but like every day you get up, you're serving people in property management. Property management means a lot of things to a lot of people, but what is it that you believe you bring to your role that's just so different every day in supporting our clients?
So I believe a really big part to being a good conflict solver in property management is having high emotional intelligence. You know, this is a super stressful industry for clients, for us, for tenants. And if the people that you entrust your home with, sometimes like a family home, don't understand how much it means to you, it is reflected in the way that they manage your property, your trust with them, speaking as if I am the client, and all interactions you have together. If you really trust your property manager and you have a personal relationship with them, and you take away the transactional behaviors, you can create this relationship that can be so fruitful and can turn into a friendship. And, you know, like I said before, it's such a personal thing to trust somebody with your home. And that's my favorite part of my job, is the interactions, a phone call, even an email, a quick text on WhatsApp with some of my clients just to let them know that everything is okay, or maybe something is not okay, but I'm working on it. Don't worry. Like, how is your time in Greece? I know that you're taking a vacation right now. Like, we create these relationships with our clients because we want them to know that we care. That's my favorite thing, because I care so much. I like sometimes care too much because I can lay awake in bed thinking, oh, I have to email that girl because I got to make sure everything is okay with this property here. And, this door at this property is swinging off hinge. I got to fix that tomorrow. I'm always thinking because my clients are my priority. And also tenants are our priority. And it's important that they know and they feel that. And I love those connections. It's my favorite thing.
So I'm going to agree with you, but I want to ask why. Why is it so important that they feel that they are cared for and important too? Not just the landlord, but also the tenant.
I mean, trust, I would say. A home is a really personal thing. It's your happy place. It's your safe place. If you don't feel happy and safe in a home as a tenant, you're in a little bit of a weird spot because it's not your home that you own. You are technically a visitor in somebody else's home, but we don't want you to feel that way. We want you to feel valued as a tenant. We want you to feel like this may be a temporary home, but it still feels like home right now. It's important for a tenant to feel that way and to feel like they're being listened to and advocated for, while we are also simultaneously thinking about and prioritizing our clients' needs. But the tenant is in a home that's a home for a minute, but it's still their home.
So why do you care so much? Like, what is it about you that emotes so much care and takes such a deep level of responsibility for all parties involved about that feeling? Like, to me, it seems like your emphasis of your care is surrounding about the feeling of the home, both for the landlord to trust how it's being taken care of, because there's that higher calling when it's somebody's home that they're going to come back to. There's the investment it's about the dollars and cents. When you're talking about a home that someone was their family home, or it's going to be their family home again when they come back from overseas, there's this higher calling of care, right? But your emphasis is around the care of the feeling of the home and who's occupying it as well. But why? Why do you care so much?
I believe we are at a moment in history where truly caring for others, even people that are not like your family, your friend, your spouse, it's a little bit more rare than it used to be. There's a lot of distractions in the world that are taking away from what I believe are the most important things in life. Interactions with others, even strangers, your clients, tenants that maybe you never meet in person. But if it's possible for me to have an interaction with a person, I can make them feel special, or, just make them smile when maybe they have been working from home all day, sitting at their, computer in their home office, never seeing or talking to a person that has any emotion, because we're all talking to, bots or messaging people all day, where it's like the interaction that you have with a human being is what makes a difference. And, we walk around outside all day, every day, and people keep their eyes down. They don't smile at the people they walk past on the sidewalk. They don't make conversation in the grocery line. I make that a priority, because the best part of being alive is making a connection with another human being. And that can apply in professional life. I believe that wholeheartedly.
Really cool. So in a way, it's not just the job. It's everything that you do is putting good out into the world.
I try.
And you actually use property management as one of your venues to put good out into the world.
Yeah.
Creating that feeling of lift for people's spirits through interactions with other humans. So clearly, emotional intelligence is your superpower, and probably goes without saying that in the choice of artificial intelligence or technological advancement versus psychological care and emotional intelligence, which one do you think is more important in the way real estate decision making happens?
I think, it just popped into my head as do you remember how we used to follow the food pyramid, where like the top of the food pyramid was like donuts, sugar and stuff like that, and then everything below it gets larger And it, to me, doesn't make any sense because it looks like the bottom part is like the support, but it's not the support for the donuts. It should be flipped. So in my mind, that was just the picture that I got in my head. In my mind, I believe that the tippy top of the pyramid is emotional intelligence. It is the most important thing that should be considered in everything in life, I think. Personal, professional, everything. And then the support, the foundation, is technology. The systems that we use, and, you know, the robots and you know, your self-driving cars and things like that, nothing works unless we have the emotional intelligence at the top. Everything else supports what is most important.
Cool. I like it. So all this talk about intelligence, do you have like a dumb or funny human story, something that's happened to you or you were a part of that just shows that, hey, even when we're smart or we're emotionally intelligent, that funny things still happen to us?
Yeah. So this is kind of straddles or makes my life slightly more difficult in property management. So I have a couple of very good girlfriends that I travel with. They're my people. We're really compatible traveling. And when we're like out and about on a fun day, everybody has a job. There is keeper of the maps. And you actually, that is like your name for the day. Keeper of the maps, keeper of the keys, and then the person that is just like looking around for fun things to do. That one doesn't have a name, but keeper of the maps and keeper of the keys. So I
Keeper
learned.
of the fun?
That's a good one. Yeah, keeper of the fun. So I learned many years ago when I started traveling with these friends that I can never be keeper of the keys because I am terrible at keys. I never lose the keys ever, but tricky keys, or even maybe not tricky keys, I can never open doors. Thank goodness I have a keypad on my house because I would be locked out constantly. So my friends, you know, poke fun all the time because they're like, okay, who's going to be keeper of the keys today? Definitely not Alex because she can't open a door to save her life. And I think it's funny because now I work in property management years later. And for a while I was working in inspections where I was going in and out of houses and I had like pockets full of keys. And I would say like 3 out of 4 times I had to try 3 or 4 times to get a door open. I just think it's funny how it's, you know, not everybody's good at everything. And I'm just not good at keys.
But at least we would all trust you with them.
Yeah, I get in eventually. I just might be sitting there for 15 minutes at a door just wiggling a key.
Fair enough. So tell me, you know, in terms of real estate, if you had unlimited resources and you were to pick the perfect house that just sings true to you and your spirit, what would that house be like, look like? Where would it be? What would it be?
So there's a movie called Practical Magic. It's one of my favorite movies. It's with Sandra Bullock and Nicole Kidman, like I think the late 90s. And it takes place somewhere in New England. I can't remember exactly where, but in a super quaint town where everybody knows everybody. And the houses are all historical. And the house that they live in is a incredible Victorian home surrounded by all these native plants, probably pollinators because there's like butterflies everywhere. And it's white and has beautiful detailing on all of the edging on the peak of the house. It is my dream home. And it has been since I saw that movie, since I was little. So I would say a Victorian home, preferably white, just engulfed in beautiful plants in a not sleepy town, but a small town where everybody knows each other and everybody looks at each other on the sidewalk and smiles and says, hey, how's your day?
So the culture of the town is important to your dream house.
Yeah, the people are important.
What about the history of the house?
Oh, well, I mean, if it's an older house, Victorian, there's a lot of history there. Maybe some spooky ghosts, you know, lots of families that have lived there. And you can feel the vibe of maybe the happiness and the stories that have taken place in the history, the human history that has taken place in the home.
Yeah, the life.
Yeah.
So speaking of movies, and you brought up Practical Magic, is there any one particular movie character, show character that you really relate to in terms of, you know, what says you to you in terms of these other characters out there?
So I have gotten this from other people, and I really do feel that it's true. In the movie Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, Blake Lively's character, there's like 2 or 3 of those movies, I think. She is the smiley life of the party. When she walks into a room, she lights everybody up. If anybody's sad, she makes them feel good. And she's always down for a good time. And I definitely relate to that. My friends, will refer to me as, I can't even remember her name in the movie, but it's Blake Lively's character.
So that vivacious, gregarious energy is something you relate to.
Yeah.
And other people also recognize that in you as well.
Thirsty for life.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Is there any way to quench that thirst for life?
No, I don't think so. I think we're always working towards it.
So you're like the most interesting man in the world. The Dos Equis commercial, I would stay thirsty, my friends.
Yeah.
I like it.
I can relate.
Is there anything else in terms of, what you see in property management that, you thought there'd be something that's interesting that's happened lately, or a story that exemplifies something you see is important for other people to see and understand or have empathy towards, or to see a different perspective or side on?
Yeah. So right now I have an ongoing issue, a remediation in a home that has been going on for, at this point, we're approaching 6 weeks. It is incredibly stressful for the owner and also the tenant, because the tenant is living in the home. The owner is dealing with a massive financial stress, and he is relying on us to help him make the decisions that are right for him and his wife, his home, and also for his tenant, because he cares about the well-being of his tenant and his home. And it's incredibly stressful for the tenant because at this moment in time, the house is not really habitable. So we are having to displace the tenant, which is really, really hard. The tenant also has a couple of emotional support animals. So moving a tenant to a hotel, there's more layers when you have animals, because especially emotional support animals, they need to be with the tenant. So then we have to find a hotel that has, that allows for pets. So everybody's stressed out, and it's ongoing. This is a long process. And I speak with these tenants and these owners every day, and I try my best. I believe I succeed, also hand in hand with our repairs team, to diffuse the stress. We can't make it go away because it's there. It's unavoidable. But we're trying to communicate to all parties that it's going to be okay. We're here. We're advocating for you, for everybody evenly here. We're making the right decisions for the owner. We're making the right decisions for the tenant. We're following Virginia landlord law. And the light is at the end of the tunnel. And I, make jokes here and there and lighten the mood a little bit, because when you're in a situation that you can't do anything about the outcome much, or maybe the road to the outcome, we're getting to the outcome and we know where we're going. It's, have fun along the way if you can, and maybe smile, because sometimes things just happen.
So does that story have a happy ending?
Yeah.
It will?
Yeah. And the light is, I can see it so close. We're like maybe 7 days out from closing this out and having the tenant move back in. And I can tell every time I talk to her that she is getting excited. Her mood is lifting a little bit. She is saying like, oh my gosh, my dog is going to be so happy to be in the backyard again. It's like, I can feel that everybody is seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And also I can feel how appreciative they are. And I mean, they are telling us outright. The owners and the tenants are saying, thank you for keeping us in the loop. Thank you for helping us make the right decisions.
So be the keeper of the keys for a moment and unlock with that key.
Uh-huh.
What is that key that you're unlocked this highly stressful situation, but this path to a solution? Like there's been plenty of doors in the way to get to this kind of outcome. I don't know many stories like the one you've shared in my experience in property management that it actually leads to a happy ending on the story, right? So with all the barriers in the way, all the obstacles in the way, what was that key that unlocked from the problem to the solution? That's the key that I'm interested in. What was that key?
I think it's the key of caring.
The caring key.
Yeah, the capacity to care. Ooh. I think that if we didn't care as much as we did at Chambers Theory, the conflicts wouldn't get resolved as smoothly or as quickly as they do.
I like that. So, and do you believe that everybody's capable of getting there, or are there just some situations that it's just best for everybody to move on from?
I do think that we cannot fix everything. I believe that that's just a part of life, and you can try your hardest in every situation, but you're not always going to be able to make everybody happy. There are some people that are not willing to move on, and they prefer to argue.
So let me also take us back to a broader view of the same situation. What advice would you give to any tenants that are dealing with a complicated mold remediation issue? Do you have any just general advice, like, hey, you're the one living in this house, what would you say to them?
I would say that I hope that they understand and trust that it is in everybody's best interest to resolve the conflict, any issues that are going on in a home as quickly as possible. We want to make sure we do it right, but we don't drag our feet. Your situation is our priority. We're working our hardest to get it fixed as quickly as possible. We're not just behind the scenes eating bonbons. We're really working for you. And sometimes I think a tenant is just stuck in a hole of, this situation just really, really stinks. And I don't believe anybody is listening to me or hearing my struggles. We're listening. I'm listening. I hear it. And I am going to do everything that I can to fix it as quickly as possible.
So from a broad view, you've demonstrated how much you care about the tenants and landlords you've interacted with on a very microeconomic scale. But if we were to say there's 10,000 landlords and tenants or 10,000 properties across America right now that are dealing with complicated, stressful mold remediation issues, what would you say, or what advice would you give to the tenants that are experiencing this mold and mildew issue? And then what experience would you share with or guidance would you give the landlords that are on the other end of that?
I would probably give the same answer for both tenants and landlords. It's hard in a situation that feels so stressful to take a pause, step back, and think about how the other person is feeling. It's easy to get so lost in your own feelings when a situation is so hard. So I believe for a tenant, if they step back and they think, my landlord, what is so difficult about this situation for them? Is it a huge financial strain? Is it this is their family home that they've had for many, many years? They raise their children here, and they want to make sure they do everything right, and they're making decisions a little bit more slowly because this house is so important to them. Maybe my landlords are taking a day or two to answer a question or approve an estimate because they have something going on in their life. And then you flip it, a landlord, I believe, should approach a situation the same way. Always put yourself in somebody else's shoes. How is this affecting them? How are my decisions affecting their home that they pay rent in, that they call home? I should be acting in a way that, as a landlord, is really taking into account how my decisions affect the other party.
Yeah, if
It's
you were living there and someone else was making the decisions, what decisions would you hope they would make?
Exactly. Yeah.
So put yourself in somebody else's shoes right now.
Mm-hmm.
Put yourself in my shoes. What questions would you ask me if you were hosting the show?
Oh my gosh. Well, I want to flip back that question to you about the movie character. Do you have somebody that you think that you really resonate with?
Yes, I'm a big. I really relate with Heath Ledger, who is actually William Thatcher
In A Knight's Tale.
I love the rags to riches story.
Yeah.
I love the becoming more than what you were originally given, and creating a different destiny for yourself in life. And there's a line in that movie about, someone who can change their stars. And, is it possible to change your stars if you're born in a caste system, or you're born in a medieval system is also very similar to the caste system, right? Or whatever lot we're given in life, do we have to stay stuck in that, or can we change our stars? And I'm a believer in changing my stars for the better, and also those around me. And that's why it's so cool to be around people. And I love to surround myself with people who like to put good out into the world and care about that for others, not just for themselves as well. So but that's definitely William Thatcher, Heath Ledger in A Knight's Tale.
That's super inspiring.
It is to me too.
Feel-good story.
Yeah, one of my favorites for sure. Also, I think it was an early 2000s movie. Also, it was fun because they had rock and roll going during the jousting tournaments.
Yes.
And they kind of threw some interesting spins into that as well.
Yeah.
And for people that really are like, what, that movie? I didn't hear about that movie. There's an interesting twist in that movie, in that it actually mocks, or it's a parody about rising stars and about breaking the caste system, but how it really only applies to men and not women. So it's what it's doing is it's showing that, a man can change his stars, or used to be able to, and women really couldn't. And it's not the theme of the movie until you get to the very end. And if you're awake enough to understand, oh my gosh, like they kept saying a man can change his stars, and what is that? Where does that leave the women in the story at the same time? And it's again, thought-provoking and interesting in multiple levels. So
I think we can all change our stars.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think we can. I think we are.
Yeah. Actively right now, every day.
Thank you for being our podcast star today.
Thank you.
Thanks for rising it to the next level.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
And everything you do and bring to rising the level of care in property management and the real estate industry. Thanks,
it's my
Alex.
superpower. Thanks,
It
Tommy.
is.
Yeah.
All right. This podcast is about real estate with intelligence. It is pulling the sword from the stone. This podcast is about that unique balance in real estate, that balance between technological intelligence and our emotional intelligence, and the transactions and interactions with one another in the real estate process. That's why we're inviting expert guests, people who are knowledgeable and bring different perspective. Join me in exploring this fascination, the look behind the scenes of technological advancement and how it's interacting with people's decisions in real estate.